The Detroit Lions just found the alpha they've been missing, and it's changing everything about their defense. Listen up, Lions fans, because what is happening at Allen Park right now is not just your standard, run-of-the-mill off-season activity. This is not just guys in shorts jogging around and coaches blowing whistles. What the Detroit Lions are engineering this summer is a complete and total makeover of the back end of their defense. And the man at the center of it all is a stone-cold, chip-on-his-shoulder veteran who was literally sitting on his couch not long ago wondering if his NFL career was done. His name is Chuck Clark. And if you haven't been paying close attention, you're about to find out exactly why this signing could be the difference between the Detroit Lions reclaiming NFC dominance and falling flat on their faces again in 2026. So let's get into it, because there's a whole lot to unpack here. And by the time we're done, you're going to understand why the Lions coaching staff is raving about this guy like he just walked on water, why Thomas Harper, a player who genuinely played well last season, is suddenly getting zero love from the first team at OTAs and minicamp, and why this entire chess move is about something far deeper than just adding another safety to the roster. This is about communication, leadership, and solving the one defensive problem that haunted this team all the way through a painful 2025 season. Let's rewind for just a moment, because context is everything. The 2025 Detroit Lions season started with Super Bowl expectations and ended in absolute heartbreak. And while a lot of the blame landed on the offense losing Ben Johnson at coordinator and watching the running game collapse down the stretch, the defense had its own spectacular set of problems. Week after week, opponents were carving up the Lions' secondary with explosive plays. We're talking big chunk gains, busted coverages on 3rd and long, and moments where it felt like the entire back seven forgot what they were supposed to be doing. The Lions ranked as one of the worst teams in the entire NFL in explosive play rate allowed, sitting at around 23rd out of 32 teams. That is not a typo. 23rd. For a team that was supposed to be a Super Bowl contender, giving up that many big plays is an absolute killer. Now here's the wild part. Even with that horrific explosive play rate, the Lions were still middle of the pack in other defensive metrics. Their yard per play allowed was okay. Their points per drive allowed was okay. Their estimated points added per play was in the middle of the pack. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the explosiveness problem was not just dragging the whole defense down statistically. It was a specific, fixable crack in the armor. And if you can get that explosive play rate down to where elite teams live, under 5 or 5.5%, all those other numbers start climbing dramatically. The dominoes fall in the right direction. Fewer big plays mean fewer easy scoring drives. Fewer easy scoring drives mean more possessions for Jared Goff and that elite offense to go to work. It is a chain reaction, and it starts at the back end. And oh, by the way, the reason the Lions were bleeding those explosive plays was no secret to anyone paying attention. Both of their starting safeties got absolutely annihilated by injuries in 2025. Kirby Joseph, who had just come off a first-team All-Pro season in 2024 after leading the entire NFL with 9 interceptions and signing a massive contract extension to become the highest-paid safety in football, went down with a nagging knee injury that shut him down after just 6 games. Brian Branch, the versatile Swiss Army knife of the defense, tore his Achilles in Week 14 against Dallas. So here you have 2 of the best safeties in football, both watching games in street clothes, and the Lions are left scrambling to hold the back end together with whoever they had available. Thomas Harper stepped in and made 9 starts. He had his moments. He made some plays. He even ranked 11th out of 91 safeties, according to Pro Football Focus, in his time playing, which is genuinely impressive for a young player thrust into a starting role. But here is what Dan Campbell himself said about Harper during OTAs, and this quote tells you everything you need to know about where Harper stands heading into 2026. Campbell said, and we are paraphrasing here, that they like the ability, but they need to know he will do it time in and time out. Translation: Thomas Harper is talented, but inconsistency is his calling card. And in a defense that was already bleeding from 1,000 cuts last year, inconsistency at safety is like pouring gasoline on the fire. Enter Chuck Clark. Now, let's be absolutely clear about something. Chuck Clark is not a household name. He is not the kind of player who is going to show up on national broadcasts with his own highlight reel. He is not going to have fans making signs with his face on them. But in the world of defensive football, in the world of reading offenses, anticipating routes, and communicating assignments to the entire back seven before the snap even happens, Chuck Clark is exactly the kind of player who turns a porous secondary into a functional one. And the numbers back it up in a fascinating way. Clark comes to Detroit with 123 career games of experience. He was a sixth-round pick out of Virginia Tech back in 2017 who worked his way from special teams grunt to full-time starting safety for the Baltimore Ravens, one of the most defensively sophisticated organizations in NFL history. He has 504 combined tackles, 37 pass deflections, 7 forced fumbles, and 5 interceptions on his resume. He played 9 seasons in the league across 4 organizations before landing in Detroit. He was in Pittsburgh last year and left with an overall PFF defensive grade of 89.1 in the postseason, which was the highest on the entire Steelers defense in their playoff loss to Houston. 89.1, in a different system than the Lions run. At 31 years old, sitting on the couch during the offseason wondering if anyone would call. Well, Detroit called, and apparently the Lions coaching staff cannot say enough about what they have seen from this man. Safeties coach Jim O'Neill was practically glowing when he described what Clark brings to the building. He pointed out that Clark had a chip on his shoulder from being out of work, that every single rep means something to this guy, and that he's been stone cold serious about football from the moment he arrived in Allen Park. They reportedly have not even seen the man smile yet, which is either terrifying or hilarious, depending on how you look at it. But the more important quote from O'Neill was the one that cut straight to the heart of what the Lions have been missing. O'Neill said that what stands out about Clark is how he can anticipate out on the grass, how quickly he can process information, and most critically, how he makes the guys around him better. And then O'Neill used a specific term that should make every Lions fan lean forward in their seat. He called Clark an alpha communicator. He said Clark can run the whole show back there. He can run it all. Now let's talk about why that term, alpha communicator, is so loaded with meaning for this particular Detroit Lions defense. When your safeties are your last line of defense, their ability to talk to each other, to talk to the linebackers, to recognize what the offense is showing them before the snap and adjust accordingly. That is the difference between a busted coverage that becomes an 80-yard touchdown and a well-timed rotation that puts your cornerback in the right spot to make a play on the ball. You cannot scheme your way out of communication failures. You cannot blitz your way past them. You can have Aiden Hutchinson eating quarterbacks alive all day long on the defensive line. But if the safety is 2 steps in the wrong direction because nobody talked through the coverage adjustment, all that pass rush means nothing. The ball is going right over everybody's head for 6 points. That was the Lions' problem last year in a nutshell. And here is what makes it even more heartbreaking. When Kerby Joseph and Brian Branch were both healthy and playing together, they were legitimately one of the best safety duos in all of football. Joseph is a ball hawk. Branch is a chess piece who can do anything. The communication between the two of them was elite. When they went down, the Lions were essentially asking inexperienced players to run a complex defensive system without the experience to communicate at a high level, and the results were exactly what you saw on the field every Sunday. Explosive play after explosive play. Third and long conversions. Receivers running wide open 40 yards downfield because someone was in the wrong spot. Chuck Clark has now walked into that room and immediately taken command. During OTAs and minicamp, Clark has been getting first-team reps at safety while both Joseph and Branch continue to recover from their injuries. The coaching staff has made it crystal clear through their actions where they see the hierarchy. And this is where the Thomas Harper situation becomes genuinely fascinating. Harper is a good player. We want to be fair to him here. He played admirably when called upon. He ranked 11th among all safeties in his limited time as a starter. But the Lions coaching staff has prioritized communication and experience above raw athletic ability, and they are sending a message to their entire secondary by doing so. In minicamp, Clark and Christian Izien were taking first-team reps, while Harper dropped to the second unit. The message is clear. We are building this defense around guys who know how to run a back seven, not just guys who are athletic enough to play back there. And Christian Izien adds another layer to this story that we cannot overlook. Izien came over from Tampa Bay and is being cross-trained at both safety spots alongside Clark. Together, they bring a combined 95 career starts to a safety room that was desperately lacking that kind of experience just 12 months ago. The Lions also have Avonte Maddox, who can play corner, nickel, or safety and provides enormous lineup flexibility, along with second-year player Dan Jackson coming back healthy after missing his entire rookie season with a leg injury and Loren Strickland fighting for a roster spot. This is a dramatically deeper and more experienced room than it was heading into last season, and it did not happen by accident. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell looked at what went wrong and targeted it precisely. Now, let's also address the elephant in the room, which is the injury situation at the top of the depth chart. Kerby Joseph and Brian Branch are both in the building, but neither practiced during OTAs or minicamp. Joseph's knee injury is described as potentially chronic, and there is real uncertainty about when or whether he will be ready for Week 1. Branch's torn Achilles from December means he is likely not going to be full speed right away either, and reports suggest he might not be available from a jump. So what happens if the Lions open the 2026 season without their two best safeties? Well, the answer to that question is now Chuck Clark and Christian Izien, and based on everything we have seen this offseason, this coaching staff is far more comfortable with that answer than they would have been at any point last year. This is the part that makes the Chuck Clark signing truly genius in its simplicity. It does not cost a fortune. It does not require a major draft investment. It does not disrupt the team's cap situation or their ability to make moves elsewhere. It is a low-risk, high-IQ addition of exactly the kind of player this defense needs to function properly when things go sideways. And in the NFL, things always go sideways. Injuries are not a matter of if, they're a matter of when. Having a veteran who can step in, command the room, communicate assignments, eliminate big plays, and not look lost doing it is the difference between a defense that holds together under pressure and one that falls apart the moment things get difficult. Here is the bottom line for the Detroit Lions heading into training camp, which is now just over a month away. This team went 9-8 last year and missed the playoffs after having genuine Super Bowl aspirations. The offense is getting a new coordinator in Drew Petzing and adding new pieces to try to rebound from a difficult year. The defensive line is getting longer and more explosive with new additions at the edge. And now, the back end of the defense, the area that was the most glaring weakness throughout 2025, has a genuine alpha communicator calling the shots from his position. If Kerby Joseph and Brian Branch come back healthy and play anywhere near the level they were at in 2024, this defense could be genuinely scary. And even if they don't, Chuck Clark and this revamped safety room are prepared to hold the fort in a way that simply was not possible a year ago. The Lions are not just plugging a hole. They are changing the culture of their back seven. They are telling their entire defense that communication matters more than athleticism alone. They are investing in the chess player, not just the physical specimen. And if the early returns from OTAs and minicamp are any indication, the players in that room are already responding to having someone back there who knows exactly what he is doing and is not afraid to tell everyone else what they need to be doing too. Detroit football is waking back up. Training camp is coming. And that back end that gave opponents a free pass to the end zone all season long, it just found its alpha. You do not want to miss what comes next. If you're fired up about the Detroit Lions heading into the 2026 season, do us a huge favor right now and smash that like button. It takes 2 seconds, and it helps us get this content out to more Lions fans across the globe who deserve to know what is building in Allen Park. Drop a comment down below and tell us what you think about the Chuck Clark signing. Do you think he's the missing piece this defense needed? Do you think Thomas Harper deserved more love from the coaching staff? We want to hear from you. And if you have not subscribed to Everything Detroit yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a single video. We are out here every single day breaking down your Lions. And as training camp gets closer, things are only going to get more exciting. We'll see you on the next one.